Filmmaking is a collaborative process, so we need a shared language to discuss shots and actions. I'm Doug Leffler, welcome to storyboard, and today we're going to talk about the naming of shots. Okay, so part of the challenge of drawing storyboards is that there are at least 4 different ways to describe any one shot, and they fall into these categories. The first category is size. Now this refers to the relative size of the subject within the frame. For instance, this is a close-up of an actor, this is a close-up of Godzilla, and this is a close-up of a field mouse. Now, although the camera position and lens choices will be radically different in all 3, the relative size of the subject within the frame is consistent. The second category is position. This refers to the placement of the camera in relationship to the subject. For example, this is a low-angle shot. Now, you'll notice it's also a close-up, and this is where the naming of shots gets interesting. The third category is function, and it designates the purpose of the shot. This is a reaction shot, but it's also a low-angle shot, and it's also a close-up. And the fourth category is movement, which refers to the movement of the camera relative to the subject. This is a tracking shot. It's also a reaction shot, it's also a low-angle shot, and it's also a close-up. Let's break those categories down, starting with shot size. Wide shots are for presenting the environment of a scene and may or may not include the subject or characters. They are to establish the geography, which is very important for storytelling. Now, it's not necessary to say extreme wide shot, but people love adjectives. It's better to be specific and say wide shot of a cavern, wide shot of a house, or wide shot of a countryside. A full shot is head to toe on the character. It's a good way to show off the character's physique or wardrobe or character design, so full shots are a great way to introduce superheroes. A cowboy is a medium shot that's wide enough to include a gunslinger's weapon. This term is not just used for westerns. You can do a cowboy of a librarian. Just imagine a holster with a Colt Peacemaker on her hip. A medium shot is closer. It's from about the waist up. 2Ts is a close-up shot that's wide enough to include the character's breasts. This is a term that's not just used for women. You can do a 2T shot on men as well. A close-up shot is from about the neck up. A choker is a tighter close-up, usually tight enough to clip the chin and the top of the head. I've sometimes heard DPs refer to this as giving the actor a haircut. And here we have the word extreme again. An extreme close-up is just a detail. And you could just say close-up of a hand or close-up of the character's eyes. If you see the designation extreme close-up and it's not specific, it probably refers to a tight shot of the character's eyes. The next category is camera position, and we'll start high and work our way down from there. A bird's eye view is looking directly down. It's an unnatural camera angle because we don't usually view the world this way, so it draws attention to itself. However, it does have its uses, especially in the beginning of a sequence if you want to put an audience on the alert. You probably don't want to use a shot like this in the middle of an emotional scene because it'll just take the audience out of the moment. A high angle is where the camera is positioned above the eye line of the characters looking down on the scene. Eye line means the camera is at eye level with the character in the scene. Low angle means the camera is below the eye line of the characters in the scene, and it's often used to heighten drama. The worm's eye view means the camera is right on the ground, and depending on the type of camera you're using, you might have to either dig a hole in the ground to get this shot or use a low-angle prism. A Dutch angle is when you tilt the camera either to the left or to the right side of frame, and it's a good way to make the audience feel unbalanced. From inside indicates placing the camera somewhere often unexpected, such as inside a coffin or inside a gym bag or inside a gunny sack looking out. It's a good way to show reactions of characters to something that you want to keep hidden from the audience. The opposite of that would be placing the camera outside looking in. This is a voyeuristic way of shooting a scene, but it has its purposes. It can create tension by implying that the characters are being observed. It's also a way that you can intentionally put distance between the audience and the characters. We have specialty rigs we use in filmmaking, such as a tire mount or a wheel mount or a hood mount or a fender mount. They're rigs where the camera is locked to a moving object, such as an automobile, and they're often used for filming action sequences. Our next category is shot function, and in this category we're not going to be referring to the shots by the specifics of their size or camera position, but by their purpose within the scene. An establishing shot is often a wide shot, but it can be different sizes. Its purpose is to tell the audience where the story is taking place. A master is a shot that is generally wide enough and long enough to encompass the entire scope of the scene. Now, we film master shots even though we have every intention of going in and getting close-ups and overs and other coverage of the scene. But the master is useful to the editors, and it's extremely useful to the cast and crew on set to understand how all of the details fit together. A point of view shot often comes after a close-up, but it doesn't have to. It's the camera seeing what the character sees. A reaction shot is the character reacting to something that previously occurred. The most common over is the over-the-shoulder shot. These are shots that are used for establishing or re-establishing close proximity geography. You can also have an over the revolver, over the ankle, over the hammer. Overs are very useful for many kinds of storytelling. Let's talk about coverage. As storyboard artists, we're always trying to find the most interesting angle to show each beat of the story. But as filmmakers, if we've taken the trouble to set up a two-shot like this, there's no reason not to film the actors reacting to everything that happens in the scene. This is called filming coverage, and it's very useful for the editors. Also, you come up with unexpected gems this way because often seeing a character react to an action or a line of dialogue is more interesting than showing the action itself. An insert is usually a close-up. Its function is to point out a detail in the scene, and these are often shots that we indicate for second unit. A single is a shot with one character in it. A two-shot has two characters in it, and so forth and so on. Subjective camera is a point of view. It's the camera showing us what one of the characters in the scene is seeing. An objective camera angle is not a point of view of a character in the scene. It's an angle that's chosen just for effective storytelling. The final category is camera movement or the lack thereof. A static or a lock-off shot might just be a camera on a tripod. Panning is rotating the camera on a fixed point to follow or reveal the subject. Tilting is similar but moving up and down. Hopefully everybody knows what a zoom lens is. Zooming has passed in and out of favor over the years, but it's a viable piece of our filmmaking toolkit. Tracking is just a way of getting a smooth professional camera move that involves a dolly and laying dolly track. There are different types of cranes, but they're either remote operated or they're human operated, and they involve moving the camera up or down to get an interesting shot. Handheld cameras are more chaotic, but they're also more visceral, and we often use them for filming fight sequences. The idea of the Steadicam is to offer the smoothness of a dolly shot with the flexibility of the handheld camera. It's a stabilizing apparatus that the camera operator wears while filming. And finally, an aerial shot is filmed from an airborne camera. Since there are so many ways to describe any one shot, size, camera placement, function, and movement, should you ask about all of these before you start drawing? No, I generally don't. I think that you should embrace any opportunity to make your own choices about storytelling and filmmaking. The ability to make a decision is a powerful tool, and since filmmaking is a collaborative endeavor, you may as well let the filmmakers benefit from your creativity. And even if your choice only serves to define what the director doesn't want to do, that's still a valuable contribution. Remember, the point of storyboarding is that it's easier to throw out a drawing than to reshoot a scene. Now, one final note. If you're ever asked to draw something and you don't recognize it by name, like say somebody says, draw me a nodal point pan, and you don't know what that is, it's okay to ask. That's how we learn.